start was going to come to.
Oh, here she is.
There she is.
Hi, the mighty
That's Casey's calling.
And Bruce, you said Anne might be able to join for the first part?
Yeah, she said maybe for the minutes, and she had told it that too. So I emailed her a few minutes ago and asked her to get on if she could.
Okay. And before we officially start, or actually, I'll just, I was gonna say, I'll email you, but I'm pretty open on Friday, Bruce, if you wanted to set up a time to talk.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Some things going to talk about.
Right. So should we get started and can join?
We are recording, just as an FYI.
Okay. We can do the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'll start. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. Has anybody received any correspondence? No. I spoke, Kevin, who's joining right now, and I had a conversation about Stonington 1649. Hi, Kevin.
And everybody.
We're talking about correspondence.
Hi, Kevin.
Catching people up that you and I had a course and a discussion. So the perfect timing to join. And we were just talking about the what they were doing and how it kind of dovetailed with what we were looking at. And so we talked about him joining as a member of the economic development, right, Kevin? You work for the town, right?
No. I'm a volunteer like all of you.
So
he's like it feels like it sometimes.
Right. I see Kevin on Zoom all the time, right?
So by correspondence, we did. Katie did send around the minutes. I think we sent them around. Can we get to approve?
I move to approve the minutes from the January 2021 meeting.
Thank you, Denise. And I'll say, is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? All right, that passes. So this, Danielle, if you want to help area just to move this along, the agenda I kind of took it from the information that was sent, and you can talk to it the best. So
Yeah, no, happy to, and thank you. And maybe Kevin, I'll also share what I sent to this group with you, because I'd also love for you and Thomas and anyone else to give some feedback. But essentially, what we looked at was as part of the Sustainable Connecticut template for communication. They had this whole great sort of kind of outline of what we should do, and so we looked at what a lot of other towns were doing and kind of shared. Looked through all their files. Haley Hines, who's an intern with us, did amazing work and kind of put together a draft of what the town of Stonington communication strategy could look like. And what we'd really like from this group to take the lead on, and then for the EDC, to the extent you guys have time, to also contribute, and we can also ask Human Services and others who've been good about doing some proactive communication to feed into it as well. But really by maybe the March meeting to look through the town's joint communication strategy that we shared and really do track changes, make edits, comments, prepare anything that you want to, because this is really just an outline. And what we also shared was the examples of a number of other towns, Bolton, Waterford, East Hartford, Manchester, Old Lyme, and what they had. And Haley, in also the Excel that we shared, the communication inventory and category comparison, you can see she did a great job of like where a town had all the categories, or maybe one town. I'm just using this as an example off the top of my head, but maybe there was only one town who had a social media component to their policy. So we didn't have that in ours, but maybe if we get feedback from you guys that we really think that should be part of our strategy, then we could add it in there. So I'd say it'd be really helpful if you guys in the next month could take a look at what we shared, look at those other town examples that we attached, and then give some really, some great feedback. And then at the next meeting, at the March meeting, we could kind of go through all that, talk it through, present maybe what is hopefully a close to finalized. If we can do a finalized one in March, that's great. If not, if it needs to get bumped to April, but March, April, really try and finalize our communication strategy. And then this is where we also really want your guys' feedback, but maybe should we share that communication strategy as part of the survey that might go out and ask for residents' feedback on our communication strategy, or should we keep it to more of a tight group and then just say, here's our communication strategy? So how much input do we want from residents versus some of the more active, maybe boards and commissions on the strategy itself? So that I'll pause there because that was one whole segment of our goals, was just finalizing this draft communication strategy, which will clearly help guide the work that we want to do going forward. But I think it'll also, it's good for our Sustainable Connecticut profile, and we can submit it, and that'll help us in our scoring on that. So, do you guys have comments or questions on that?
I actually have two questions. So I have been trying to, wherever I can participate in not only ours, but other town sort of events, to understand how the flow is from getting the information out to them and then having someone participate. And I think one of the things that has just sort of resonated is that a number of them, it's not just us, it's very difficult to get from here's the information to either the detail information or the event or something else, so that there's lots of different links and it becomes like you have multiple windows open, which is fine. But for a number of people, we need to recognize what the audience level of access is. So it's sort of like determining first, who are we communicating with? And then most importantly, is there an aggregate way in which we can get the information that's most critical? So it's almost like if there's a red star next to the information, then every single one of the town's communications should have a link to that red star. If it's a blue star, then it's really dependent on a lower level communication strategy, et cetera, because I think that you can get lost in a maze of information and communication, and when what you really wanted to do is just attend the Board of Selectmen's meeting. I just used as an example, which was very nice. Thank you, Danielle. I loved attending on multiple ways yesterday.
So Denise, I think to get my head, and maybe others have wrapped around that, like using that example, is it because, like, say you are looking at the town calendar and you want to attend a meeting and it's not clear the best way to attend, or like how you viewing the attachments and the documents, or I guess, yeah.
So there's multiple. So if I go to the town calendar and I want to attend this meeting, I can't just click on there and get all the information immediately. So there's a document, and then on the document, it will tell me what the call-in number is, or if I want to look at it live, I need to then go to the town's Facebook page, which I assume everybody has Facebook, even though many of us do not like to use Facebook, and I'm happy to be on public saying that. But it's difficult. There are people who refuse to go on Facebook, and so they won't participate on a live event, and they can't get the recording. It becomes this multi-step process in order to get to the information. And then maybe it's just, it's a user interface. I tend to think about that a great deal.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. And also, I think we can be more clear. We were actually just talking about this too, for example, with like the Facebook, like you don't have to be a Facebook user. It can, because of the
Yes.
Torrington page is public, you can just go to our, it's like basically because we can't live stream things to our website. That's our only means to live stream anything. So YouTube is great for after the fact, and we put all the recordings there. But if you want to watch it live, that is our only way. But I see, like, I pulled up an agenda as an example. I'm like, it's not like you could at least even click a link to get there. You have to then look it up. So that's really helpful and specific feedback. So thank you.
Right. Or if the Facebook group page is where we're going to do all of our live streams for anything, then that should be its own little link for, we could just say, live stream link for all events. And, then in parentheses or in italics, open for everyone. No, you don't have to belong to Facebook or whatever whatever the terminology is, so that people recognize it, and that may be its own category. And not that you want, if they're open to the public and you're streaming it live, guess what? If someone wants to click on it, they can click on it, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it gets confusing for people definitely sometimes because it's also just the way the platform works. It just appears. So it's not like a special link union, and it's not, if we're 5 minutes late, they're like, where is it? Why isn't it happening?
Right.
And so I think we could do a better job on that for certain. So thank you.
And so I apologize because it wasn't meant to be a specific, like, let's go into the, do a deep dive, but I've been looking at what the communication user interface, how's the best way to get the key information, and focusing on that as we look at what our strategy is, and I think having a template that all of the other components, or it's a town-wide template. This is what will be clear and should be sort of potentially followed by all the groups or all the commissions or all the divisions or departments in the town, so that people then just get, oh, this is what I do when I want to, access a live event, get a list of agendas, et cetera, et cetera. And so that was what I've been working on, and just wanted to ask a few questions around this. So I'm going to mute myself now.
No, and Denise, I'd say let's book a call with you, me, and Stacy on the board and commission angle, and have a call, because I'm sure any board and commission would appreciate that, like that idea of a template. And obviously different, so some board and commissions don't stream to Facebook, it's only a call-in option. So but I still think we could have even 2 templates would be better than
exactly
the we currently have. So thank you for that. And also, I don't want to take too much of Kevin's time, since he's here for to share some of the great work the EDC has been doing. But I'd say on the strategy component, if you guys do have time to just take a look at that, Bruce and I can circle back with the other members to just really ask them to provide comments within the next couple of weeks, and then we could try and finalize, maybe at that March meeting, discuss if we should use that as part of our outreach to residents to get feedback on. But I did want Kevin to share, because I think it's also kind of interconnected. So I'd say the EDC is probably the best at communicating out of anybody, and their 1649 site, as well as the kind of the segments and the resources within the 1649 site. And so, one is, Kevin, I'll probably tap into you for a follow-up call on some of the things. I mean, I realized by preparing for this meeting, even like we don't even cross-reference the 1649 site on the town website. And we definitely need to do that. And then seeing that, Kevin, you guys did this amazing business and resident guide that I hadn't seen, and it's so good. And those should be on our visitor and business pages, kind of called out more. So there's definitely some very low hanging fruit that we can immediately make some changes to. But I think bigger picture, if you could share with us maybe some of the strategy from the EDC side, and also I think Ebby maybe brought it up at the last meeting, or Katie, maybe you, but maybe the town should think about focusing more, say, on our social media, more kind of strict town municipal things, and anything that is more community or economic related, maybe we do tap into you guys to put it out that way. Just like human services has very focused areas where they do rec on one thing, social services on another. So that way it's not information overload and people can subscribe to what they want. So I think we're really open to feedback. But maybe once you hear a little bit more about the EDC kind of strategy, you guys could help us feed into our own strategy. So long way of saying, go ahead, Kevin.
Thank you. So I'll give a bit of background, which I discussed with Bruce last week, but just off the back of your conversation there, I'd like to add a little bit of input about, I think, where we should fit in under a broader strategy. So first of all, obviously, we didn't know that this group existed. But going back, it's probably 3 years under the leadership of Jason Vincent. And Jason's view was that in order for economic development to occur, a town needs to build a brand and look like it is a professional, well-run, cohesive organization. And so we said, okay, part of building a brand is to have a website which sort of doesn't repeat the town information, doesn't repeat all the business specific information, but gives a view to potential investors or potential developers who don't really know Stonington. And there's also potential residents. So 85% of our revenue from our taxes come from residential real estate property owners. So it'd be nice if we were like Groton and 60% came from businesses, and then we spend a lot more time focusing on what we should be doing for businesses. But we are largely, all of our revenues come from residents. So it is important that people want to live in Stonington. And so what we did with Stonington 1649 is we from an economic development perspective look at by industry grouping. So there's about 5 or 6 industry groupings. Obviously, the biggest one is real estate, but then we also look at agriculture and aquaculture, manufacturing, which is very, very tiny in Stonington, retail, tourism. And we've also got, we call it elder care. So we don't have like a healthcare or a university grouping, but we've got an elder care sector, which is really Masonic care, now Hartford Healthcare opposite Stonebridge and Stonebridge itself. And those 3 will be sort of in the top 10 taxpayers for Stonington. So we set about building Stonington 1649 website, and Thomas, mental block, Erica Lindbergh and Thomas, what's his name, Danielle, helped us build this website. And they were quite keen on saying we need to publish like a story every month, and about what's going on from a business perspective in Stonington. And what we also wanted to do is we wanted to build an archive of what has happened. So as stories like Hartford Health got approval for the site office on Perkins Farm, then we wanted to keep all of the positive stories about developments in Stonington and put them under the press section on Stonington 1649, so that developers or people came along and said, oh, what's happened in the last 2 or 3 years in Stonington, could see an archive of the changes and the developments that have occurred. So one of our goals is to publish an email or a story once a month. And last month was the first time we sort of did it in a newsletter form. And that's why I think, going back to strategy, we probably got a little bit out of our lane. So if you go back and look at the other things we've done, it's been very much around, the Campbell Grain Building in Pakataka, or an idea for we'll go back to the Hartford Healthcare example. But I really love that sustainability story, and I thought, you drill down, there's a whole stack of stories there. The one on recycling actually sort of saves the town money because we do some things like that, but it wasn't really one of the core projects that, in fact, EDC didn't even operate under. So one of the things which I'd probably ask this group to do is maybe at a high level to say, everyone who's going to communicate should stick within their particular lanes. And in that particular case, I think EDC should have maybe stuck within its lane, not talked about sustainability, but talked about the projects and the things which we are working on. And to some extent, we'll be talking about planning and zoning things as well. So 80% of what we do is really around something that we want to change, which will enable development to more easily happen in Stonington. Okay, so that's it from me. So Denise.
Oh, no.
So
I don't know if this is the right forum to have this kind of conversation, but I don't agree with sticking to the lane. I think that it was so beautifully done. I mean, I immediately sent to Danielle and Bruce. I was like, why aren't we all doing this? It seems to me that I love the concept of a brand, and have had lots of conversations previously, not about this, with Erica and Thomas, about being able to create something that people can easily tap into and identify. So economic development is one very important lane, but something, environment, sustainability, there are other lanes that people, they're all interconnected. They're merging constantly. So there's positive crossover on an ongoing basis. And one of the thoughts that I think we could consider is, how do we, have collaborative lanes where we are sharing these stories, and that, you can tag any story or any part of a website, say that comes from, the Communications and Marketing Commission, that comes from the, wetlands group, so that they know where it's originating from, and maybe even have it so that there's a continual linkage. So if you want to know more information, go to this group or here. I think there's a way in which to use a newsletter or communication that has positive stories, and maybe economic development is one of the ways that people really like it, or even the 1649 site with, different categories, not to usurp or in any way muddy the great work that you're doing. But, I think we need to have a consistent, one branded approach as we go forward, because it'll be easier for the consumer.
So if I can just add, I would encourage you, if you can, to use the Stonington 6049 logo. So we ran a competition about 3 years ago and this is basically for marketing purposes, and it's got Stonington 1649, and then underneath it is representing the waves of the water and the ploughed rows of agriculture, which is sort of, sums up Stonington. And if you look at, you probably don't see them, but each department at Town Hall, not everyone, but most of them have got like a little logo. Sometimes it's a logo, sometimes it's the stamp, it's just the seal. But I think if we can agree to a template framework of how all communications should go out, I think that would be great. And if we could agree a font and colors, and again, just for communications, not for official forms or letters. And if we could use the Stonington 1649 logo that is there, then with maybe we do, planning and zoning, or building departments, or parks and rec. And again, if you want to come up with your own, then EDC could use it. But we didn't have one that we felt projected what we wanted to project for as far as Stonington was concerned. And our town seal looks like 150 other town seals in the Northeast.
Kevin, maybe just you made me think of a few ideas. I think we do a lot of ideas. So one question, I guess. So for the email and newsletter, that is something you guys plan to continue to do, right?
In fact, we have the next one going out on Monday. So our goal is to go out on the 1st of each month.
Okay.
And this next one is very much about, so we prioritize what we want to work on over the next 12 months. So it's basically how we went through a prioritization process and the top 8 projects that we want to focus on. And then that will lead us to 8 stories, hopefully, as we start working on those projects, over the next 12 months.
Okay, so one thing is maybe I'll try and, like I said, connect with you offline a little bit about a few things on that. But something for this group to really think about is because, and Kevin, just to get you up to speed, but you already know this, we said one of the challenges with the communication strategy is we don't have anybody focused on this. So right now it's really Stacy and myself, and now Sue Cullen has an intern that she's trying to dedicate some time to. So I believe Abby, maybe Kristen helped wrote up a potential job description for like an intern that could potentially help focus on this area, but really thinking about the sustainability of Storrington's communication strategy, we need to find places that fit within areas that could keep going. So if this people in this office change all the time. So when we're not here, that the communication still happens with residents. We want this to be long standing. So I think this could really help think with CEDC. Should we do a town newsletter? Because that's what we've been thinking about on, like, say, this municipal side. Or is what you guys are doing so much better because you're actually featuring more of the things that people actually want to read about. And when we do want to do something, because you brought up like solid waste, like some of the advances that we have in Stonington that kind of make us stand out, or maybe you want to highlight some of the great work Public Works is doing, we could potentially work with you to feed those stories in, but maybe you're more of the Stonington newsletter go-to, and we don't need to duplicate that effort.
I think you're overestimating what we've done, Danielle.
That's
So in my
amazing.
mind, I think the Stonington Events magazine is the place. In fact, and it's actually one of the things I actually read. And maybe there's an opportunity to do more in that, where we say, listen, each department has to submit something every other month or every other quarter. So that's 4 times a year, which is fine. We haven't been great, but we've said we're going to put a story into Stonington 1649 every quarter. In fact, that sustainability story is going to be one for EDC this quarter. But I like that format because it goes to every household in Stonington.
It does. And we like that one. That won't go anywhere. But I think one of the things we were saying is a lot of people have asked for an email kind of update. And how could that happen? So a monthly email update on what's happening around town and highlighting it. And Denise has kind of been a point person about other boards and commissions, but is there an opportunity, to encourage them to submit their own stories, maybe some highlights? And we could definitely do that via the hard copy. But if there is an opportunity to do it also in this kind of format that you guys have put forward, that is so wonderful. So again, we don't want to necessarily saddle you with too much, but maybe it's something that we could all think about over the next few weeks. And Kevin, we could touch base maybe with Bruce again, and you and I, and just see if there are some areas that we could carve out that logically sit with the EDC anyways.
Yeah. So I'll leave that to you to decide if it's what you want to do. Obviously, we've got some infrastructure there, but you've also got some infrastructure, haven't you, around like the emergency alerts and things that you can?
Yeah, we have the emergency alerts, which we're also trying to get more people to sign up for. But for the basic kind of, we have like agenda minute meetings, people can sign up to get alerts about that. But in terms of just like knowing what's going on in town, knowing how your tax dollars are being spent, knowing about relevant projects or things to be excited about, we other than putting things out on social media, we don't really have a sustained way. We started this pilot of a selectman's blog that's been good, and people can subscribe to it, but it's pretty basic. So yeah, I think the newsletter thing had some interest and excitement from residents and maybe from some members of this group.
Yeah, and as you know, getting people's email addresses is difficult. So I think we sort of cobbled together So Denise, you're on that list because I knew you. So I thought if I know someone who lives in Stonington, I'm going to put them on the list. But like I never met Bruce before, so he wasn't there. And we got some people who submitted their email addresses, and we actually got some feedback from that first newsletter. So some people got an opinion and they shared it, and that was good. But anyway, I'll leave that to you. You know, obviously we've got that infrastructure there. Thomas has been great at maintaining it. It costs virtually nothing. And once you've got the emailing capability in place, it doesn't need too much. You know, we'll never be 50,000 people on the distribution list.
But you want to know something? I would actually sort of say that because it's so, and I obviously loved it, but I think because it is so fresh, you can, you could try to, and I understand that there may be some, maybe not privacy issues, but you could sort of share communication listings. You could ask people, here's the, I'm not saying this but here's people who use the library, and here's people who are part of the Merchants Association, and, and here are other things. And so I think that if, as a sample, you could just say, there's this great new newsletter that's for Stonington residents that will talk about events, and it's, and fun things that are happening, but initiatives and how your dollars are spent, and send it out to them under the originating organization or mailing list, and then allow people to say, nope, not interested. Or if you're getting great feedback, hey, thanks. Thank you, Kevin, for putting me on the list. I had no idea how I got on that list, but I get thousands of emails a day, and I did open it because it really hit me. So I think that you have an opportunity to grow that list in a positive way for the town.
And Kevin, we can also, just in terms of that, we could use, I think, the nonprofit roundtable, maybe the chambers, and our own methods to share it, and just say we encourage you to sign up, and here's the link to register, so that way people can opt in. And that was actually one of my questions for you, but we can touch base offline. Was I couldn't see how to actually sign up for it. Because when I first went to the 1649 site, something popped up automatically to sign up. But when I went back to try and get like a shareable link to tell people to sign up, I couldn't find that.
Okay, I'll ask Thomas to see if is there some way. And because I wonder, even on the town website, if there's a way to say sign up here.
We do. So we have like an info alerts thing right on the main webpage, and we could add in a thing there specifically to say, in addition to subscribing to like I said, if agenda alerts and meeting minute alerts, we could say there's a new Stonington kind of 1649. We could write a little write up, and I can put that up in 2 minutes. So they gave me access.
That would be. I think that'd be terrific, and I do think that trying to connect through the nonprofit roundtable and some of the other, group. I really do think that if people knew about it, and we could try to be intentional in connecting for this committee, it would be really valuable, because it would really jumpstart, I think, a lot of the initiatives that we hope to undertake, and really propel us, way down the road.
And Kevin, last question for you. Did you say you guys already have a color and font that you use? Okay.
So Thomas, we did a complete style guide, but we've only been using it ourselves.
Could you share that with us?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that totally makes sense. We can make a Stonington brand, which is exciting.
In regards to the committee and how it all fits together, just hearing and talking to Kevin about Stonington 1649, it appears to me that there's so many layers, there's so many directions we could go in terms of what you want to provide, or for the people of Stonington, and how you want to communicate. And I'm wondering, we are interested still in a survey, is that right, Danielle? Still want to find out from the people what they're interested in, learning about what they know exists out there, right? Because I think also, with
100%. We've
taking a
never
look at
reached out. Yeah, go ahead, please.
No, it's a, I said, you know, I'm wondering, like, it strikes me that people don't want to know until they want to know. And so there's going to be things come up where somebody's like, I don't care what's going on in economic development until they're building something next to my house where I'm like, now I want to know. And so I think that like we need to, it seems to me like the other towns communication plans that you forwarded, like some were relatively basic, some were really in depth about their policy, and I'm wondering if maybe in order to be able to manage what we're trying to do, if we don't come up with a basic policy for the town and then build on it, you know, have a the first iteration that gets approved with the knowing that we're gonna battle, you know, take on another topic and take on another compartment of it, that trying to encompass everything in in this space of time in the committee is, I think, is, I'm finding it to be, you know, it continues to be overwhelming, not to have these meetings, but overwhelming to figure out how you're going to address it from the town standpoint and with the people, and how it can morph and change after, you know, the next best thing in technologically speaking that happens, or, you know what I mean? So I'm just wondering if we can have that discussion about getting the survey out, trying to understand exactly what we're looking to bite off and chew, and then whether or not we can build on that, or if we're going to do it all at once.
Yeah, no, and I was hoping, and I don't know if you guys got a chance, because I know I didn't send it many days notice, but to look at the draft strategy, because I think, you know, we took the feedback from the last meeting that it was a bit overwhelming and that there's so many different pieces we could attack it at. So I mean, I do think all this is going to be, for now, grounded in that strategy. So I think if everybody could take a look at it, and like you said, we tried to do a balance where it's not as comprehensive as other towns, but it's not just like a 2-pager. So again, I think getting feedback from this committee and EDC members, and like I said, human services or others who've been really active. And then if, again, depending what the committee thinks, so using that strategy alongside as a draft, alongside with a survey that could go out, is the goal. And I think I had said, you know, we could finalize the survey by March, and then execution April and May for analyzing results. So that was kind of my thought on the timeline was, you know, this committee puts their input into this draft strategy. If you agree, you know, then also in March, finalize what the survey questions could be, discuss it at the March meeting for any input, discussion, tweets, and then really throughout April, really put that survey out there. The survey, I think Bruce did put up on the shared site, I think was a great starting point. So hopefully others could feed into it and think about it before the March meeting. But I think it's like understanding where the current level of engagement is. Do people even know any of these places exist? You know, do they know about it? And then also what other ways do they want? What do they need? So we could get some, I think, survey input, and that would be really, really helpful. And for me, just to say, like, we've never done a communication inventory. So even just the act on the town side of doing this communication inventory the last week was so helpful. And I mean, I don't know if you guys got to look at the Excel, but it was really great to see how many different places there are, but it right away struck you as like, okay, you know, even just having this on the website might be helpful for people to know there's all these different mechanisms that already exist that they might not even know about. Like I said, you know, I talked to Dave, the other chair of the EDC weekly, and like Kevin said, we didn't even know about these cross things, and we talk all the time. So look at communication. So I think, you know, we've already, you guys, just the sheer fact this committee exists has already really helped, I think, make some improvements. So I do think if the next 2 goals could be feedback on the draft strategy, and then putting together a good survey. And I know Dan McFadden, who's also actually on the EDC, said he's happy to help. I know he's very busy, but maybe if we could really tap into him, say, will you help with these survey questions, and really tap into people over the next couple of weeks. So that way at that March meeting, we could finalize the survey, would be really great. Again, we've never engaged residents on this.
Excuse me, I don't know if you guys got a chance, Denise or Bruce, but very late this afternoon, I actually went on and I edited and added some different questions and answers to the survey. So things that I've like forgotten, but just not comprehensively. So just so you guys know, I just want to let you know I added some to the survey questions. I think that they overall look really good, and I think we shouldn't hesitate. I think we need to get a little bit more ambitious and kind of start some of this stuff. Meeting, we keep going back over what are we doing, and I think we do need to just prioritize putting out the survey and then looking over this first draft that Danielle suggesting. Simplify.
Katie, thanks for adding to this.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I did put the like initial questions out there, and thank you for adding to it. It's helpful. Danielle, so there is, thank you. So there are two tabs. It's on this, I don't know if it's on the landing page of the, the Stonington Drive.
Yep, no,
and there's a document that's.
Yep, I'm in there right now. I did email, I think, you and Denise. I don't have access to edit or add anything because I would have added my documents to there. So if you can give me kind of that permission level.
Okay, I'll add you to that. And thank you, Katie. I just looked at that too. That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, that's great. And then what I'll do too is I can add like those short-term items, maybe as like to do in this thing, and we could send out an email again. I know everybody's a volunteer and it's hard sometimes to get all these things, but I think we did try and take the feedback from the last call and really narrow it down. Both, so we have the communication strategy, input, survey, and then we have a couple of just short-term items in case not everybody has to do everything, but like we mentioned, if you could look at the town website under the resident and visitor tab. I mean, it's pretty atrocious. I mean, there's not much going on those tabs. So, if you guys could take a look, maybe also take time looking at the 1649 site, and because obviously we can cross-link to 1649, but we could also cross-link to specific resources within 1649. So, or if you're just as a resident say, oh, why don't we have a link to this other great resource? So I think that would be, again, these are low hanging things that we could fix in a day or two if we just get some input from outside eyes, because it's really helpful. And just some of those other basic, I think, questions that were in there. But I think the two main goals we could agree on are the communication strategy input and then input on the survey. And if we could get that for March, get it out, analyze some of the feedback, I think even this committee's work could potentially be done sooner than we think if we keep utilizing the intern and the work that the EDC is already doing. And I think if at the end of this we have the inventory that we already now have done, we have a strategy that's a living document that will continue to change. So like you said, we shouldn't agonize over it because we will continue to update it over time, but at least we'll have something. And then potentially a job description or an intern description for how this could work going forward. Those would all be, and then improvements to our website. Those would all be really excellent, I think, outcomes from this group. But we're also obviously open to other things that you guys want to think about.
Yeah.
Bruce, sorry, you're muted. I don't know if you're.
So for the document, the setting right now on the document is anyone with the link can access. So you should be able to get into it, Danielle.
Mm-hmm. And I just added you to the anyway.
Let me, me see if I can.
No, that's really helpful. I'll try right when we're off here again. Could have totally been me too, so we'll see. But no, I think that's great, and I think just to also just say thank you, because I mean even some of the things you guys shared at the last meeting about thinking about how to focus, for example, like our social media posts and what should be more maybe human services or EDC, and then we just share them through our channel, but we shouldn't be the originator. So like we should all cross promote each other. And I think if we had a better system of, tagging each other or sharing it and saying, will you promote this, and kind of more of a system down, it'll help get more traction, but also I think it'll help the end user not be so confused, like constant barrage of information. So that's already been, we've already started thinking about that, and it's been really helpful. So you guys have already been really helpful, and I think we will get there with the next couple steps. And I think if we just keep hopefully pushing the other members, but just to say, like Katie said, if you have other ideas that do fall out of just these two things we've outlined, definitely share them, because we can pilot them, we can test them out. If you have, if you see something another town does that's really good, and then Denise, like I said, we could also talk offline, just because we do have. And to Bruce's point, it might be we might be getting too big, but we did want to see if we could improve communication among boards and commissions. And maybe it's as simple as the survey, and getting some of that input, and then we work on the suggestions over time. But if there are other ideas on how we can improve our practices, that's always appreciated.
So Bruce and Denise, you, as questions go, what do you think are our next steps? Does somebody want to reach out to Dan and facilitate the survey? Are we going to use something like Survey Monkey, or like what is the mode to deliver the survey, I guess? Have you guys had any thoughts about that?
Yeah, Katie, we did a survey for businesses, and the Survey Monkey was actually our great intern Haley figured this out. Wasn't as good for kind of our purposes, for also for being free. So we used a Google form survey, and it worked really well. And then actually Suzanne, who's a member of the EDC, had some experience with surveys also, and she very nicely gave us some feedback on how we could improve our survey going forward. So she might be someone else that we could loop into the conversation, or share this link with and ask for input on the survey.
Great.
Is it, Google Form, I think it would be cool, and it's good. It's really easy to use too. Is it appropriate to, we know that people will start to read and think about, the town budget, and that all of a sudden the interest level and what is happening in the town is going to start to shift upward for a while. Would it be valuable if we have the survey done to have a link in other communications, or we want somehow to use things that are already going out to say, please participate in the survey. We want to know how you best want to receive information. That could increase participation, because I am a little concerned that we may have too low participation.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. We can think about how to do that. And I think it comes back maybe also to the point you guys have raised about kind of a template. So we could ask people to include it in like we used to do this in my last job, but like in their email signature, when you have something big coming up, like click here, please fill out this survey. Or like you said, if I don't know legality about putting it on agendas and such, but we can definitely, I think, put it in email signatures. We can cross promote it. We can reach out to board and commission members, ask them to share it. And like we said, all these, the chamber was great about sharing the business survey for us, which I think really helped, because our outreach is really small. So I think we can tap into other nonprofits. Like I know the library shares stuff for us. Stone Acres has a great listserv. They'll share stuff for us. So we can, I think if we get a good survey together and when we're ready, I think I'm optimistic. I might be wrong. I think it'll just be getting help really thinking, and I'm not great at this, but asking the right questions to be sure we're kind of getting the end result that we want. So I think the more eyes we have on the survey will be really helpful to create the best one we can.
I agree with you. And we can survey to get it going. Like I said, it's set up right now that anybody link can get in. So if we can get it, I get the link out again to the committee, and people can, take a look and try to make sure that we figure out the right question, get ready to send it out, after the March meeting.
Okay, no, that's great. So anything else from you guys, or anything else you want to ask Kevin?
I think we're good. I think we covered a lot, explained a lot. I may go back and watch it a couple of times to make sure I get it.
Oh, it helps to watch it.
Okay, I might sign off, everybody. So you know where to find me. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Kevin.
Likewise. Bye, Katie.
Okay, so no, thank you. Is anything else from you guys?
I'm good. Denise, Katie?
I'm good.
And so
Okay.
Denise, the only thing I'd say is, so I can do stuff in the survey document, but I can't do anything in the actual folder, the Stonington Public Communication folder, like to add documents. So I think,
I just sent you a link.
yeah, that was just to the survey one.
Oh, I thought it was to the whole
Yeah.
folder.
Yeah, so I think if you go to the folder and you
Yep.
like,
And
share,
you add share, and I added you, and believe it or not, you're in there as an editor.
yeah, so I got, and I could show you, I got one that it's just for the survey questions.
Nope, it's for the whole folder, but okay, I'm going to give you the, I'll go back again. Now, it shouldn't have a problem. It did pop up when I tried to do it to say it was a non-Gmail account, but I just said accept anyway.
Okay, oh, you know what? That might be part of the problem. I'm signing in with my Gmail account.
Yep.
So that means,
If you give me your Gmail, I'm happy
Yep.
to add you with your Gmail.
Perfect. I will do that because that's maybe why I'm not able
Yep.
to.
So you'll be able to go in 2 ways. Yay.
Okay, perfect. I will send that to you right now. Thank you guys. No, thank you so much for everything. And I don't we've never formed a new committee, and this one definitely has a lot of moving pieces. So thank you for bearing with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do we call it our meeting to end, and then I can stop the recording?
Move to
And I do
adjourn.
have one question for you, Danielle.
Yeah.
I move to adjourn.
I second that.
Adjourned.
All those in favor? Okay, great. I'm going to stop the recording now. Thank you.